Yeah, I think also because not a lot of people know, at least in my age group, they don't really know what it means to be an operations manager. I think some of them kind of assume like that I'm doing like a lot, and they're like, "Wow, like good for you." Like that sounds stressful.
Like
And I'm
being a consultant. It's like, oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
But
know. I find that when you talk to somebody and that because somebody will ask you, so what were you doing out at usually when you travel, I think customers all over the country, like, oh, why were you out such and such a place? And you tell them why you were there, what project you were there to meet about, and they assume that that's what you do. It's like, well, we build some systems to manage water flow in the Mississippi and kind of the designs and drawings of that. Oh, wow! So how do the dams do it? I
well,
I don't know. Right.
don't know.
so
I mean I just tried to make sure like the big drawings that they print out like because that goes through the network and we had to like I that's all. Like I don't really know. Um, so I think there's a lot of those kind of random questions that GovCon's just a lot. It's kind of everything. It's everything that the government does at some level.
for the longest time, he would be like, "What does your dad do?" And he would tell me all the time, and I'd be like, "Listen, like I don't know. He might work for the CIA. I don't." It's different every time. I know it's something in the government. That's it. But it's several things all in one, and kind of explaining to people outside of my daily job responsibilities, explaining to someone like what my company does for sure. No one gets it. Like, I don't know. Okay. Thanks for telling me. That's how people feel because
How about ISO? Have you ever tried to explain? Has anybody ever asked you about what that is or explained the stuff that you do with ISO stuff?
um I've explained it to one person. My closest
They
friend,
still talk to you?
I think that I think that I'm pretty good at dumbing things down because I needed to make it all the way dumb for me to understand it. So I think that, and explaining it to people, it's kind of I said I would do this, I'm making sure we do this, going through. I think people they understand it pretty solidly. Maybe I'm leaving a lot of important details out, but I think that, just checking your own systems.
I learned this. I learned this industry verbally because there's not a place to go, right? So my program offices and stuff would have these meetings, and we would have conversations that would be similar to this. They would provide dinner or lunch or whatever, and we'd sit down, and I would voluntarily go to every one of the meetings because I just assumed the more I heard it, the easier it would be for me to understand and remember. And then it ended up being that way. And then so what's funny is that now at Pernix, as we're doing things, I find myself saying, man, I wish I would have wrote this down as I was going through it so that I could have something to give somebody else to say, here is what you should learn, as opposed to telling people what they told me, like, oh, go get oh, I can't even remember the name of it, but like, they tell you, oh, you're getting your PMP, go get the Rita McCohy book, read that. Or you're doing capture, and that there's a whole process on capture, go read this guy's capture thing, and I would read it. And so it wouldn't help me because it didn't provide me context. Like, where was I supposed to go? Am I supposed to go find this rear admiral in the Navy and ask this guy all these questions? Like, how do I get this information from them, right? And so then to,
Yeah.
to talk about capture versus business development versus there's a lot of moving parts, and so um maybe that's the future, right? We figure out some kind of program and send people through it, right? That
I think AI has a role in helping to correlate things and be ingesting things that have been done and techniques and tactics and whatever. But you're right. This is mostly and I think it's because it's so different. It's mostly a learned from person to person, verbally learned kind of thing because everything is so one off and unique that there's no exact book for it. I mean, I remember back at some point when I was doing something related to passport systems. And one of the passport customers said, well, the thing is, there is no software out of a box that you can buy to issue a passport because nobody does that. I was like, yeah, okay, that makes because there's so many things that the government does. I mean, I've had projects that did investigated like puppy mills for like people that were breeding dogs and what whether they were following or not following, and then how you find and did that. there are no download software to do that,
Yeah.
like, and like if I correlate that like to like on the real estate side, if I want to automate pricing, if I want to organize cleaning, if I want to manage my swimming pool remotely, if I want to take pictures and post, there's 9,000 websites and tools, and you go and you sign up and you do it. And there's something that exists because it's basically common enough, like lock codes. I have 800 different ways that I can automatically create a lock code and send it to the lock on the house and send it to you by email and text and whatever else. That's easy. Nobody inspects mines or, you know, any of those like nuanced things. That's just not something that exists. Like, I mean, I've had USCIS programs where you're doing citizenships. Yes, you can buy like a general workflow application, but all of everything else is all unique. And so trying to teach somebody a specific lesson, there isn't one.
Yeah, I've said so many times that I think that this is the best business for people with ADHD because you don't get the opportunity to sit and pay attention to one thing for a really long time, right? Like
I think it's a really good
every
point.
one thing you change, it changes something else, and you have to go find out where it changed that thing at, right? It was one time we were trying to save money on taxes, right? And maybe this is not a story I should tell. We were trying to save money on taxes, and we changed our NAICS code
Okay.
because one of the other NAICS codes had a lower tax rate. And at the time, I didn't have anything to do with this per se, but like the NAICS codes changed. And so as the NAICS codes changed, some smart person was like, "Oh, this is going to lower our taxes, right?" So great, that happens. We pay no attention. We submit a our application for. I think we were submitting a government set aside application. I don't remember which one it was at the time, but we were submitting one. And I think it was the 8A application to be factual. And we were submitting it, and that was the reason we got rejected was because our NAICS codes didn't match. And so I was like, oh, simple fix, right? I'm gonna go back and change the NAICS codes. The tax implication from changing the NAICS code made us have to wait because we didn't have the cash to pay the back taxes. And so that's a time where you change something. Not that that person was doing a bad thing. They were like, oh, well, you guys don't do, you're not, we're not a systems integration company.